Hello folks, I am the old sergeant. We are rapidly moving toward a real civil war in this country. I am changing the status of what I normally talk about the cold civil war, to the warm civil war, because we're just short of a hot civil war. That can happen at any moment, depending on events. There are two things that can happen that would immediately send us into a hot civil war. Number one, gun confiscation. Number two, the removal of President Trump from the presidency. Recently, a poll showed that 7 in 10 Americans believe that we are heading for a state of civil war. Polls also show that millennials are willing to give up their constitutional rights because feelings. Last year, I did day-to-day reports on the cold Civil War, basically talking about the patriots like the Proud Boys, Patriot Pair, the Oath Keepers, the folks that are called right-wing extremists by the communists. But essentially what was going on is that Antifa would schedule an event and they would come out and the patriots would come out to stare each other down, and there'd be minor scuffles and occasional violence at the small level. Though we did have a recent event where Proud Boy members were sentenced to 4 years in prison for a street fight started by Antifa. Of course, this is New York. Communist-controlled territory. What's going on right now, what you are seeing in the media, is a communist coup attempt against the President of the United States. That's one of the two things I told you would start an immediate hot civil war. There are criminal investigations going on against a lot of the deep state operators. And of course, these people want to stop the investigations because of their power, their money, their control of other people's lives. The deep state and these communist Democrats, and also some traitorous Republicans, are attempting to remove the president by any means necessary. Never-ending impeachment. The House has now said that they will move to vote for impeachment investigations. But that by any means necessary really disturbs me. Recently, Nancy Pelosi was seen in a green dress, wearing a green necklace. On her wrist, she had a band that contained bullets and little orange ornaments. Now, maybe I read too many techno thrillers, but that is a clear go signal to me. By any means necessary, they're trying to stop President Trump from saving the Republic, from saving Western civilization. There are reports now that Republican senators are being turned one by one in discussions with deep state anti-Trump people like Mitt Romney or John Bolton, who's all butthurt about being relieved because he was one of the people that wanted never-ending wars. So we have to worry about the deep state Republicans I am pretty sure that the House is going to send impeachment over to the Senate, and there might be just enough Republican turncoats to remove President Trump. These Republican senators may be compromised. Maybe there are pictures of them from Epstein Island. Maybe they're being threatened. We were warned about the military-industrial complex, but let's also add the intelligence to that, the intelligence community. These people want continuous wars because it's profitable. They feel the power of sending people's sons and daughters off to be killed in war for their power and their pocketbooks. They think nothing of us. We're nothing but cannon fodder to them. They could care less about your average American. And they think our patriotism is something to be scoffed and laughed at. The communist legacy media continues to spew their lies. Out and out lies. Anybody can check and find out. But they don't care. They don't care if it's lies because a large number of people, the useful idiots in this country, will believe it. Communist violence is on the rise in the United States. In August, we had the 2 mass murders in Dayton, Ohio and El Paso. And make no mistake, the Texas murderer was a communist. He left a manifesto. This manifesto, if you read it, is full of all the communist boilerplate talking points. All the stuff you hear that the left just loves. They say he was right-wing because he targeted a specific group of people. And of course, as everybody knows, it's the conservatives. It's the patriots that are racist. The biggest racists in this country are the communists, are the Democrats. Check the history. It's always the Democrats that are the racists and the Republicans that are trying to fight for equal rights for all citizens. And somehow the big lie was put out there that it's the Republicans that are the racists. Say a lie enough times. Antifa and other such organizations are now out actively recruiting. There are units all over this country, and they plan, when called for by their Democrat, socialist, communist overlords, to go out in the streets, to take over the streets, and to commit violence, to destabilize the country, all for the power of the elite few communists, the Democrats, that run the country. Another thing you heard about and I talked about was the Marine Reserve activation, which we still don't know what it's for. It could possibly be for California's natural disasters, but nothing has been reported. And the call-up wording was interesting. U.S. Marine Reserve units are activated for emergency within the United States, which will come with little warning. Cities threatened in the homeland. California is in a state of insurrection. There have been numerous violations where essentially the politicians in California raise their middle finger at the federal government. A lot of this has to do with all the illegal immigrants that they are bringing into California to be voters on the national level. They want to control the country by the illegals coming in. And if you say anything about it, oh my gosh, you're a racist. They are invaders. They want to take back what they think was their territory, the Reconquista, to expand Mexico north. This is all about geopolitics. It's not about poor refugees coming in. There are a lot of those, but they're just part of the big picture. The changing of the demographics to remove the European population, to replace us. And you know, once they have the minority or the majority, they will come after us the same way that they did in South Africa, going after a certain group of people. Something weird recently happened in California as they came out and they are forcing the ham radio repeaters to be taken down. Why? Though that's an emergency system for reporting problems like forest fires and to get help to people that are in trouble. But for some reason, some unknown reason, the politicians, the leadership of California wants the citizens' availability to communicate long distance destroyed. They say, oh, you can keep your repeaters up at an outrageous cost. As you know, there are a massive number of natural disasters, fires, and earthquakes in California. California is being hit bad. I wonder why. You heard about the power outages. Now that may be just because the company is trying to prove a point. They were sued about the fires that were created by their equipment because they're so cheap, they don't want to replace the equipment that can cause fires. So they lost that battle. So here we are in fire season again, and they're cutting power off to millions of people, killing a few. Really messing up everybody's lives. Just to say, hey, we had to cut the power, you know, because it could cause fires, and we got sued for that. So this is what happens when you don't let us have our way. That's the thinking. The president has taken away Chinese control of the port of Long Beach, the second biggest container port in the United States. Obama set it up so the Chinese could have full control of a port. What do you suppose they brought into that port? How many nuclear weapons are now secreted around this country in cities and other key locations? Because all they had to do, bring the weapon in a cargo container, put it on a truck, deliver it someplace, and let it sit there. Biological warfare, they could do the same thing there too. How about sneaking in special forces? It only takes a few of these guys to take out that electric grid permanently. And the statistics show, the studies show, that 95% of Americans would die within the first year without power. Because power is the key to our civilization right now. It's the key to delivering food where it needs to be. That's the only way that we're able to sustain a population as large as ours, and all the other reasons that you need to have power. But there would be a massive die-off, which is great for the Chinese. They sure need new territory with a lot of good resources, and America sure has it. And they would just love to come in and, as one of their generals said, exterminate the American population. Not subjugate, exterminate, and take over our country. So America disappears into the history books. Or maybe not. Maybe totally disappears because nobody is allowed to write down what we did, who we were. Well, that's fine for the communist leadership. They think that they're going to be exempt from all this kind of thing. They'll be able to live high and mighty in their gated cities as they talk about and discuss the riffraff, the deplorables. Another thing going on is two things in California. We have the Cal-Exit people that are committing treason because they want California to withdraw from the United States. We also have the New California folks that are sick of what's happening in Sacramento, and they want to withdraw from California and become the state of New California, the 51st state. And there are a lot of counties, one by one, that are lining up with New California as they strip away these small, heavily populated centers that control the rest of the state and destroy the rest of the state. You see what's happening in their cities. Excrement and needles all over the place. The total collapse of their economy because of extreme taxation. California is what happens when you let these communists, these Marxists, these socialists be in charge of anything. This is more than just a temporal conflict. This is spiritual warfare. Ephesians 6:12. For we are not fighting against blood and flesh enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. We are fighting against evil, and frequently you can see it in the faces of these communists in Washington. Pure, evil, demon-controlled human beings. This has really worried me to make this video, because I think we are in very precarious times. I think we're in deep trouble, and we must stay vigilant.